If you're struggling with lead generation, it may not be a funnel problem or a content problem or a strategy problem. Although those all play an important role, it may be something a lot deeper, and that may be your fear of being seen. Let me explain. A lot of founders spend most of their time thinking about their offer, thinking about the clients that they focus on, so their ideal clients, and they think about the delivery method. So should it be LinkedIn? Should it be Instagram? Should it be YouTube? Should it be cold emails? Should it be cold DMs, right? And again, those things are important, but if you're not aware of the true bottleneck, then you always end up creating a misalignment between all of these factors. So let me explain. And I'll tell you all of that by sharing my own story. So, in one of my previous videos, I talked about how I just recently went through a really powerful transformation. And I realized that my own lead generation problem was tied to a sense of misalignment between the kind of work offer that I have, the kind of people that I focus on, and the way that I try to reach those people. It just didn't fit right for me. And I didn't quite understand why that was the case. I had an idea. Like mentally, I was like, okay, you should be doing more events. I knew that from last year already. I knew that even from before that. I started out my coaching business as an events business and it worked really, really well. But then with COVID, I let that go and I said, okay, I need to double down on the online market because every coach and speaker is doing that. So clearly I should do that too. And was that a wrong move? No. It definitely helped me build a multi-six-figure business. But what I realized is that over the years, I drifted away more and more and more from what really lights me up. And so I started to dig a little deeper. And this is the same phenomena that I see with other founders, some of them being my own clients. What I realized was that I ended up creating a belief system that says you cannot grow through events, even though I already had the evidence, even though I already had the confirmation from people that came to my events. But I somehow built into my mind that I have to do what every other coach out there was doing. And so what I ended up saying to myself is, I don't trust my own message. I don't trust my own guidance, my own wisdom. So what was I lacking? I was lacking conviction. And this is a very subtle thing because people don't necessarily tell you that. They don't necessarily say to your face, hey, dude, I just really don't feel you convicted in your marketing or in the conversations that you're having with potential leads. Nobody says that, but people can feel it. They can feel it that you're not really burning for what's coming out of your mouth. There's a lot of doubt in there. And the doubt is not necessarily because you're not getting results. The doubt is there because there's one part of you that is saying go left, and then there's an external part, like an online influencer, a guru, a marketing guy who's saying go right. Again, that's not a wrong thing. It's just we have to find what's true for us. And so what I did is I shifted back. I said, okay, I have been living through the lens of what other people think is right for me, and that hasn't worked. Let me move it back. And so I started doing events again. And guess what? The success showed up immediately. I felt so aligned. I felt so lit up with excitement and with passion. And therefore, the conviction showed. And people have already mirrored that back to me because this time I asked them. And so often underneath, what we find underneath the misalignment between offer, messaging, and vehicle is the internal bottleneck. And that is, if you're a founder, how many times have you dealt with rejection and with disappointment? I mean, it is literally built into the idea of entrepreneurship. In order for you to figure out your right idea, you have to go through 1,000 or 1,000,000 wrong ideas. And, let's not kid each other. That stuff sucks. Now, you may tell yourself, oh, it's great. It's a learning lesson and you're reframing. And trust me, I do that thing too. But there's a part which goes, fuck this. Again. man, how long, how much more energy, time, money do I have to invest until I finally get it right? That's a big reality of entrepreneurship, but one that a lot of us don't like to talk about in this personal development positivity movement. Everything is always great and, just keep going. But we accumulate those emotions unless we actually make time to process them and then let them go. And that's what happened to me. I accumulated years of disappointment, and was carrying them around with me. And I didn't even know that. And so when I went through a process with my own coach who slowed me down, like really slowed me down, and then in that slow space guided me to connect with, what was it like all these years to put in so much energy but not get what you want? And that's when, the floodgates opened up, and I felt so much sadness and so much heaviness. But I took the time to process it and to then release it. And guess what? The next day I felt like I was newborn. And that gave me this incredible drive and energy. And now I can tell the difference, because now I got this sense of excitement waking up in the morning. I was still excited, but it felt like I had to, like, you know, create this excitement. It wasn't necessarily always natural. And so now I've removed all of that, and I feel so much lighter and so much clearer on my path forward. So for you, my invitation is, the strategy game is important. Your content, your messaging, how are you going to deliver that, what the right vehicle, all important things, right? We need that. But you got to dig deeper, because the things that I just shared, they are often just symptoms. They are symptoms of something that goes a lot deeper. And if you don't find the root, you will spend an eternity chasing one guru advice after the next. And guess what you're going to be doing at the same time when it doesn't work? You'll accumulate more and more and more disappointment. And then we wonder why, something like 90% of businesses eventually go out of business and fail. Is it because everyone is so stupid and, just 10% of entrepreneurs have figured it out? No, it's because people don't recognize of what the inner world is doing to their outer world. They're just blind to it. And so you have an opportunity now that I have shared some of this awareness with you. You have some awareness. So my invitation for you, my friend, is take some time. If something that I said sparked something, leave me a comment. I'm there. I'm engaging. I'll respond. And if you like this content, hit the follow button, because you're going to get a lot more of this, and we're going to go deeper. And you're going to have an unfair advantage, because the vast majority of people are still swimming on the surface, thinking that's where they find the solutions. But you're going to dive deeper, and you're going to make the time to break through, and then you're going to, take off, and you're going to leave people in the dust, and you don't even care about that. It's just a natural byproduct. And with that, we are complete, and I'll see you in the next video.